There were a number of cuts made from House of the Dragon Season 2. People like Nettles aren't going to appear at all, Daeron is still missing, and a number of dragons themselves have yet to make an appearance, if indeed they ever will. We see the Red Sowing take place. It's a single episode in the show, one massive set piece, whereas in the books it's kind of drawn out over a longer period, and there are more wild dragons that people are attempting to claim. We only see one fully wild dragon in the show. It's the one that Rhaena encounters in the Vale. His name is Sheepstealer. He's on Dragonstone in the books, but there are two other dragons on Dragonstone in the text. Those being Grey Ghost, this smaller, cute little dragon that I quite like, and the coolest dragon in all of Ice and Fire history, a black behemoth with green eyes known as the Cannibal. The cannibal is quite an interesting creature that sort of lurks in the background of different portions of Fire and Blood. We don't really know how old he is or where he came from. According to some small folk, he predates even the Targaryen arrival on Westeros and on Dragonstone. This is unclear as to whether or not it is at all possible. We saw dragons come over from the Old Country, most notably Balerion, the Black Dread, who I'll talk about a little bit in a later segment. But living on Dragonstone prior to Targaryen settlement on that island would make the cannibal the oldest dragon we know of by a very, very wide margin. It seems that the dragons do die of old age at some point. That's what happened to Balerion after he lived for, I think, well over 200 years, just prior to the Dance of the Dragons. So it's unclear as to whether or not the cannibal could be that old, but his size very much denotes him as being very old, if not super duper ancient, in that he's described as being massive, but not quite as large as Vermithor or Vagar as of the time of the dance. We hear in the text that none of the dragon seeds were brave enough to even attempt to claim the cannibal, as if this creature is vicious enough to kill its own kind, one can only imagine what it would do to human riders. This leads to a very mysterious kind of nature around the cannibal. Where did he come from? How long has he lived on Dragonstone? Does he have any larger role in the series that we really haven't accounted for? As people theorize in two different directions as to the role this dragon could have played in the series past or present. The way the cannibal is described is also quite interesting. Being jet black is pretty unique as far as dragons go, as there are only two other dragons that match that description, and they are very, very important. The first we already discussed, Balerion the Black Dread, the dragon of Aegon the Conqueror, and the most famous dragon to ever live. Additionally, Drogon in the main series is jet black as well, with red accents. He is often referred to as Balerion the Black Dread come again, and those being the only two dragons with this coloration does lend this air of importance to the cannibal, as it's the only other dragon that matches, and it could kind of lend itself to the idea that maybe the cannibal is to some degree a descendant of Balerion and maybe one of the other dragons that has its lair on the Dragonmont. In terms of the cannibal's role in Targaryen history writ large, it's fairly minor. For the sake of everyone involved, it's a very good thing that the cannibal stayed out of the Dance of the Dragons. The only involvement it had there was descending on some dragon seeds who were trying to claim Sheepstealer and eating them. That's Silver Dennis, who we see briefly in the show, though he has sons in the book. And then later on, towards the end, I'm not going to say exactly when or how this happens, but at a certain character's funeral, it is said in the historical record that the cannibal is seen flying overhead, which is quite interesting, as the cannibal isn't bonded to anyone, and some people theorize that he is maybe bonded to this character. We'll get into in the next segment for sake of not spoiling things. I also have to ask, who's your favorite dragon in Ice and Fire? I think mine has to be Tsarion for a number of reasons, including cool name and really cool things she does. But overall, I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. And while you're down there, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it does really help the channel. So the cannibal flies overhead at Corlys Valerion's funeral, though it's unclear whether or not that actually ends up happening. It's specifically remarked on in Fire and Blood as something that could have very much been added to the story as this dramatic flair. That would make sense. Corlys Valerion has this incredible, remarkable life, and ending it with a dragon salute at his funeral after most of the dragons have died out could be a proper way for a historian to send him off, which could be interesting. That said, I've also seen people theorize that, oh, knew. Maybe Corlys bonded to the cannibal, which I don't think makes a ton of sense. While the Valerians do have Valyrian blood, they are not a dragon rider house. The only dragon rider house remaining is the Targaryens, and because of that, we do not see much crossover. And additionally, Corlys is someone who very much likes to flaunt his power and influence, or at the very least use it, and I don't think he would just sit on the sidelines with a dragon as big as the cannibal just during this entire massive war. After the Dance of the Dragons, the cannibal vanishes from the historical record. We have no idea where it goes. It's one of 4 dragons to survive that conflict, and we just completely lose track of it. This has led to a number of theories as to what has happened to the cannibal, where it has gone, will it play any role in the series' future, and the main point of interest there is the island of Skagos. This is an island in the far north that is populated by individuals very directly descended from the first men. They keep the old ways, and it is often said that they make human sacrifices and eat human corpses. They are cannibals. It is known as a cannibal island in the series, and some people say that might mean it is the cannibal island, and maybe this dragon resides there as well. I don't really think that the cannibal made it up to Skagos for a number of reasons. First off, Martin, in his most recent dragon blog post, talked a lot about dragons not being nomadic in the series. Well, there are cases of dragons staying in a location other than Dragonstone, most notably Nettles and Sheep Stealers staying in the Mountains of the Vale after the Dance of the Dragons. It doesn't seem as though Cannibal is going to go so far at that point, and I certainly disagree with people who say Cannibal is still going to be alive on Skagos when we go see it from Davos's perspective as of the Winds of Winter. That would make the cannibal at least 300 years old, which is way older than any creature we've encountered in Westerosi history whatsoever. I don't think it really tracks, and I don't think even seeing a dragon skeleton would be that impactful. I think if there's somewhere we're going to see a dragon skeleton, it's going to be in the Mountains of the Vale. We'll see sheep stealers, and I also think that there's enough magical going on in Skagos with the old gods and the unicorns there as well. While I don't think the cannibal is or was on Skagos, I do think author George R. R. Martin created an intentional connection between the two that was initially pointed out to me on a video I did on the Cannibal Island many long years ago. Specifically, that the direwolf of Rickon Stark, Shaggy Dog, is described in exactly the same way as Cannibal. Both are described as being jet black in coloration, either their fur or their scales, with green eyes, which is a really unique and striking color combination to me. And additionally, this combination could be significant, as we hear in A Dance with Dragons, that the cannibal island of Skagos has been the shelter of Rickon Stark for these past 3 books where he has been off page. But I don't think that's really anything more than an Easter egg. I don't think that there is a dragon that happens to match this direwolf's coloration on the island. It's also worth noting that there's another way we could find out more about the cannibal. Most notably, Fire and Blood ends very soon after the Dance of the Dragons, within a few years, and the cannibal is alive as far as we know at that point. We know that the Maesters record all dragons having died out under the reign of Aegon III Targaryen, and that could include the cannibal. There could be some incident or recorded death that we just don't have record of yet because the details in the World of Ice and Fire are a lot less detailed than those in Fire and Blood or its eventual sequel, Blood and Fire. So we could find out more about this very mysterious dragon at some point in the series' future, should Blood and Fire be published. But hopefully that one comes out after The Winds of Winter. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and it is free. I also have a Patreon in the description. I keep forgetting to mention that in videos, but if you want to support me more directly, feel free to do that. I also really appreciate it. I'll have many more videos for you in the near future about A Song of Ice and Fire, House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, Dunk and Egg, and many other topics, I'm sure. I'd like to do another Better Call Saul video someday. I have a couple ideas for that cooking, but thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the near future. Goodbye, everyone.